So we believe that the King James Bible, every word is perfect. If we deny that every word is not perfect in the Bible, then how do we know that the verses that it's speaking to us when we're reading is giving you the right doctrine and belief? Because one different word can change a whole doctrine or meaning. So that's why we demand a perfect Bible. Now, the reason why people will deny the King James Bible to be perfect is because this criticism against the King James Bible. They try to bring up errors in your King James Bible. But here's the problem. I guarantee you this, when you study every so-called error in the King James Bible, you're going to find some source out there that will still support the English King James Bible. So it's not like they had no manuscript evidence and they were just translating verses incorrectly. That's what the modern scholars are trying to give you, that impression. No, there is manuscript evidence, logical Greek and Hebrew reasoning for the reason why they wrote that verse. So we're going to look at one of the common mistakes in your King James Bible. We're going to look at Acts chapter 19 and verse 37. Now, one of the errors in your King James Bible is that it actually should say temples. But instead, your King James Bible has churches. Now, the Greek scholars, they claim that that's an error in your King James Bible. Why? Because it's supposed to be a Greek word called hierosulos. So I'll just write it in English. If I write it in Greek, I probably would write it incorrectly, but let me just give it a shot, all right? I'm just doing this from memory. Hierosulos. Okay, I think so. All right. Anyways, so this is a Greek, or the rough Greek wording of it, and this is the English transliteration. So anyway, hierosulos, if you look at it in Greek, it's actually going to be more accurately robbers of temples or temple plunderers. Because the reason why is this. Hieros and sulos. That's the key word. Because if you look up that word hieros or hieron, it actually comes from the word temple. See, not church. And then from here you can say destroyer or robber or whatever. So let's just put destroyer or robber. But this is not the issue that they're going. The issue is this one, see? Temple. This word, which is true if you translate it in Greek, it's supposed to be temple, not church. But your King James Bible, what they did was, let's look at that verse. Acts chapter 19 and verse 37. You'll notice this so-called incorrect translation in your King James Bible. Notice that the Bible reads right here what the pagans quoted, Acts 19:37. For ye have brought hither these men, which are neither robbers of churches, nor yet blasphemers of your goddess. So notice right here, robbers of churches. So it shouldn't be churches, it should be temple. The reason why is because the Greek translation, hieros, is temple, not church. Another reasoning that they use is this. Another reasoning is because of the historical fact, historical. So this is what they're thinking historically. Historically, the pagans, they did not have church buildings yet. So it's not logical to think that pagans had church buildings at that time period. What they had was temple buildings. It wasn't until Constantine or some other later Roman Caesar that switched the temple buildings into church buildings. So the historical reason is that church buildings, let's say churches, did not exist yet. So this is their reasoning, all right? Their reasoning is this. Historically, that could not exist at Acts chapter 19, verse 37. And plus, that's an incorrect Greek translation. All right, so we're going to look at some things right here. First of all, if you look up a source is Strong's Concordance. So Strong's Concordance, probably one of the most famous concordances. It quotes Greek. But if you look up the word in Greek in Strong's Concordance, you know how it translates here, hieros? It translated as to what? Sacred place. See? So it doesn't have to be temple. It could be a church, because a church building or a church area was considered to be a sacred place also. So church can fit fine with this one, not just temple. So notice right here that it doesn't have to be temple. Another one is if you look at Kittles. Kittles and other lexicons can also show that churches is what? A sacred place. Didn't you know that? Kittles is known to be one of the kings of Greek lexicon. So you got Strong's, you got Kittles. Not only that, you're going to also see several interesting ones. The Oxford Greek Dictionary. If you look at the Oxford Greek Dictionary, it's pretty interesting how it defines these words. The Oxford Greek Dictionary, what it does is that it has the word naos in Greek. Now, naos in Greek, you know what the English translation for naos in Greek is? This is interesting. It defines it as these two words are together. Look at this. Ooh, see that? Notice that this Greek word right here, it puts these two words together. So you'll notice that in Greek languages, they can see that temple and church can mean the same thing. So the KJV translators, they were not incorrectly translating Greek words, because in Greek words, sometimes when they see the word temple, it can be interchangeable with church as well. So it's not an incorrect translation. Another example right here. Let's see. They have a Greek side and an English side. So the Oxford Greek Dictionary has an English side and Greek side. So in the Greek side, it shows this. On the English side, it has the word church. And you know how it defines the word church as? It's interesting. It has it as ecclesia. I think that's the right translation in Greek. But it has ecclesia and also what? Look at this. Naos is what? Right here. And naos is what? Temple, church. Boom. So if the KJV translators wrote in Acts 19:37 church, what? It can mean this. And this thing can mean what? Boom. See that? That's why I don't panic about errors in the King James Bible, because it's actually easy to disprove. It's true that majority, don't get me wrong, you'll see a lot of lexicons that will show a different meaning. But I guarantee you this, not all lexicons do. Not all dictionaries do. When you dig up all of them, you're going to find something that will support the King James Bible translation. Look, you got to understand this. Do you really think that Oxford, Cambridge, Westminster scholars who knew Greek and Hebrew so much, they would just write this kind of word randomly without a Greek and Hebrew reasoning behind it? See, these modern critics, they give this stupid argument as if that these KJV translators, oh, these guys, they didn't know what they were talking about because they were from 1600s. They just wrote it foolishly. If they know the history of that time period. If you were there during the 1600s, you were a master of languages that time, if you were a scholar. Not only that, there are many more. Let me give you an easy one, all right? Here's an easy one. Not just Greek sources, you can even look at English dictionaries. Now, the funny thing is when these critics criticize your King James Bible in English, their problem is this: they just don't know English dictionaries. I guess that's why. They just master so much in Greek and Hebrew that they don't even know plain Old English. Webster's 1828 dictionary. Look up the word church in Webster's 1828 dictionary. You know what it defines church as? Let me read it to you. It defines, look up the word church. It defines it as a temple of God. See? So it matches with temple. of God from kuriakos, pertaining to a Lord, or to our Lord Jesus Christ, from kurios, a Lord. It also says a house consecrated to the worship of God among Christians. So notice it says a house consecrated, meaning sacred place. Remember, churches means what? Sacred place, according to Strong's and Kittle's. See that? Not only that, you also see several more sources, which I'm not going to write down. Zondervan's Compact Bible Dictionary explains the word church to mean, quote, denoting an assembly, but also, quote, a building of which Jesus Christ is the chief cornerstone or foundation, and holy temple in the Lord. See, it doesn't see the difference. Jameson Fawcett Brown Bible Commentary says, quote, for ye have brought hither these men which are neither robbers of churches, temple plunderers, or sacrilegious persons, nor yet blasphemers of your goddess. Matthew Henry's commentary also shows that the word churches is synonymously used with temples. He quotes, he wipes off the odium that had been cast upon Paul and his associates. What can you prove upon them? They are not robbers of churches. They have offered no violence to Diana's temple or the treasures of it. But guess what? Even the modern translators themselves, those hypocrites, even they themselves use modern versions such as the WBS, the AKJ, and other modern versions to actually say churches, not just temples. Now, concerning its history, you got to realize this. They claim that churches did not exist at that time period. But you got to realize this. One, how did they not know that? How did they not know that there were some pagans that were actually doing it? Just because you don't have some manuscript or historical record of it, that doesn't mean there weren't. Do you know why? Because it is a fact that manuscripts during that time period were going extinct. So how do you not know there were some pagans doing that? But not only that, you also had some paganism going on in the churches. Look at Revelation 2. Revelation chapter 2. There was paganism going on in churches. It was infesting. Look at Revelation chapter 2. You're telling me that there was no paganism in the church? No, there were some paganism in the church. That's why pagans could have had this. Look at Revelation chapter 2, and we will read verse 12. And to the angel of the church in Pergamos, right? This is a church. But look what's going on right here. Look at verse 14. But I have a few things against thee, because thou hast there them that hold the doctrine of Balaam, who taught Balak to cast a stumbling block before the children of Israel, to eat things sacrificed unto what? Idols, and to commit fornication. See, paganism. So hast thou also them that hold the doctrine of the Nicolaitans, which thing I also hate. See, paganism. Not only that, look at verse 18. And unto the angel of the church in Thyatira write. So here's another church. But look what's going on in here. Verse 20. Notwithstanding, I have a few things against thee, because thou sufferest that woman Jezebel, which calleth herself a prophetess, to teach and to seduce my servants to commit, look at this, fornication, and to eat things sacrificed unto idols. Look at that. Look at verse 23. And I will kill her children, so a pagan's children, with death. But look at this. And all the churches shall know that I am he which searcheth the rein and hearts. And I will give unto every one of you according to your works. Look at this. God had to destroy this paganism going on as an example to what? To the other pagan temples? No, to churches. See, there were pagans in churches. I'm glad the Bible actually wrote churches. You know why? That's a more clear revelation, more advanced revelation. You know why? Because if it just wrote robbers of temples, they would have saw it as paganism going on in temples. But if you wrote churches right here, you know what you would have shown? You would have shown paganism going on in churches. Boom. See? KJV is always better. It reigns supreme.